Anna, welcome to the Z Learning Podcast. So glad to have you on. Thank you for being here today.
Thank you for having me. I'm so glad to be here.
My pleasure. So let's dive right into it. What does Purpose Equation do for seniors? How do you help? What kind of programs, services do you offer that can help people find purpose and meaning in their lives?
We have created a service that we offer to individuals. It's a one-on-one experience with a purpose guide that the Purpose Equation trains and certifies. And through these experiences with the purpose guide that are done by Zoom, a person goes through a step-by-step framework of discovering specifically what brings him or her or them meaning and joy in everyday life.
Amazing. Now, most people, I think, associate finding purpose and meaning with young people, such as college kids who are trying to figure out what to do with their lives, people, young professionals at the start of their careers, maybe even older, middle-aged people who want to transition to a new career path or figure out how to spend their retirement years. But you don't usually hear about finding purpose in the context of elderly people who are getting toward the end of their lives or patients with dementia, which I know you work with. So what made you decide to focus on seniors? What made you decide to focus on this population in particular?
Wow, so much to say about that. First of all of those different stages of life, transitions in life, from college to being a working professional, to becoming a parent, to having different jobs, all of those times are times when it's really important to get in touch with your unique purpose. So purpose is ageless and timeless. What's so beautiful about purpose, though, is that when one can define their purpose and intentionally live in their unique purpose, it will naturally evolve. We as humans don't have a static experience in this life, and we are not static beings. This life is an opportunity to learn and grow and evolve. And that's naturally going to happen anyway. Values change depending on your peer group or experiences that you have. We can change or make adjustments in different circumstances. So we are naturally evolving through life. The question with purpose is, are you evolving in alignment with who you are at your core? And so older adults, first of all, I always say they raised me. I started working in senior living, assisted living, independent living, memory care when I was in my early 20s. And I remember meeting Francis and Annette in the living room at a community in Massachusetts, and they were hilarious and sarcastic and told me when I was having a bad hair day and would tell me when they were having a bad day and would give me hugs. And, I saw their spirits. And to me, the whole age thing disappeared. And what I want to say about age is this. There's a movement going on right now about ageism and anti-ageism, and none of us should overlook how important this is, because if we're lucky enough, we're all going to get older and we're all aging from the day that we're born. So having this fear or prejudice against older people, it's ridiculous. The other thing is, all of us really are about 18 or 19 in our mind. As our body changes, we are our being. Our being can evolve, but the core of us, it's an anchor, and it doesn't change as you get older. Talk to any 90-year-old. When they look in the mirror, they're surprised they look 90 because inside they're 18. That doesn't change with age, unless an older person, and this happens to many, are so impacted by the ageism in our society that they internalize this feeling of that old is somehow a process of disintegration, which is it's absolutely not. It's actually can be the time of greatest enlightenment in your life. What's challenging about getting older is that there are changes. There are natural changes cognitively. The retrieval process of memories and facts slows down a little bit. It's not normal, by the way, to become forgetful as you age. That's a brain process that's happening. So older adults taught me, especially Annette and Frances and Evelyn and Evie, that being who you are doesn't change just because you got older. But what you can do might change. And there are some aging theories that very clearly outline this, like being able to transition how you live in your purpose as physical abilities change. So for example, Al, who discovered his purpose equation, he loved to play baseball. He couldn't play baseball anymore when he was in his 80s for physical reasons and health reasons. But what we found out, what did he love about baseball? He loved being part of a team. He loved contributing to a team. He loved taking care of people and looking out for people and performing random acts of kindness to brighten people's days. That's what he loved the most about baseball. That he can still do. So that's why it's so important to get in touch with purpose as our roles change or as we get older, because the core of what brings us meaning and joy and that reason to get out of bed in the morning, or when we can no longer get out of bed in the morning and we're still here, how do you get fulfillment and joy and meaning out of life that fuels you enough to then be able to help others? So many people think of purpose as the output of helping others, but it doesn't start there. It starts inside with knowing, and really, this might sound extreme, but loving your purpose, because it's so natural and such a part of you that being yourself is what fuels your ability to help others. Long-winded answer, but as you can tell, I probably have a lot to say about purpose.
No, that was fascinating, honestly. You could have gone on. That was very interesting, and I love what you said that that purpose is ageless, and I think we can definitely get into that. And I was partially raised by my grandparents. My grandmother's actually in a couple days, as of this recording, going to be celebrating her 91st birthday, God willing. So,
Wonderful.
I mean, clearly, working in the senior living space made a huge impression on you. My other grandmother actually spent her last few years in a Sunrise assisted living. So I know that it's really, there's so much wisdom you can gain from spending time with people who are older, who've had life experiences, and there's so much at any age. There's life to be lived, and I really especially love what you said about how you can get out of bed in the morning or find purpose to get out of the morning bed in the morning, even when it's a struggle to get out of it. And I think that that just shows that really at any age, it's not limited necessarily by what you can do. It's really finding purpose and meaning in what you're doing or how you do it. And I guess we'll go more into that. But so let's go into, like, how do you help an aged population who is no longer working? And I think in this society, especially in America, not only do we put a lot of value into youth and beauty and looks and all that, but also into work and defining our purpose by what we do for a living. And it is a large part of how we spend most of our years. So how do you help an aged population who's no longer working, who may have lost their spouse or significant other, who may or may not have frequent visits from relatives, especially during the past year when they couldn't get visits from relatives in many places, and who may not have too many friends who are still alive? How do you help them find their purpose equation, as you put it? How do you help them stay connected to what gives them meaning and satisfaction? I love that example with the baseball player, but yeah, maybe you can get into a little more about that.
Yeah. So first of all, purpose is only related to what we do and doing as an output of who we are being. So purpose is at its core who you are deep down inside. It has to do with your values. It has to do with personality. It has to do with how you've adjusted to different environments and circumstances in your life. So purpose is not based on a role that you have, and it's not based on achieving a goal. It makes me very sad that in our society, people feel that they either haven't fulfilled their purpose or they don't have purpose if they haven't done that thing.
Mm. Well, what? Sorry, just to cut it. Why do you think that is? Do you think that because I read a lot of motivational entrepreneur stuff, as I know you do as well. A lot of it's focused on reaching goals and setting goals, but like, do you think that in a way we forget to enjoy the process or the journey while we're
Well, I just
trying
think
in
that's a
pursuit?
complete mistake to focus on that. I think that those entrepreneurial books, that's fantastic for your work life to set goals, but purpose comes before setting goals, right? Setting goals is the next step. Purpose is, well, what is going to, in the first place, influence you to have that goal in the first place, right? Like who we want to be or what our career is or what interests us, it's not even that much of a decision. It's who you are and what you're naturally drawn to. When we do workshops, we help people learn their purpose through being creative. Because when you're creative and you let your mind go, you let go of space and time and ego, and you can kind of sink back into what do you naturally notice? What are you naturally drawn to? That's giving you a clue to get closer to your purpose. And then when you decide to become an entrepreneur, well, a lot of that I think we know has to do with personality and values and experiences that you have in your life. So if you want to set goals and you want to accomplish things as an entrepreneur, that's absolutely a necessity. But what's the motivation and the excitement? What is it that keeps you going on all those long nights and those dark days of the soul when you wonder if your idea is right or if it's going to take off? It's your purpose
Yeah.
that gives you that continuous momentum to keep going. So there's nothing wrong with goals or achievements, especially in our society. Like it's a requirement
Yeah.
for so many people. But what's behind that is your state of being and knowing deeply who you are. It's paying attention to who you are naturally. And then when you're setting those goals and you're achieving those milestones, it feels less like trying
Mhm.
and more like flying. Birds don't think about how to fly, they just fly.
Yeah, wow, that's well put. And I've thought for myself, like, there's your what you do, and then there's your why. I like to call it for myself a North Star, and I know I'm not the only one who says that, but like
Yeah.
thinking of something that's beyond your business that or beyond what you do day to day that makes you want to do the thing. And I think it's important when you say how if we go through most of our lives kind of finding meaning in one way, then when we get older, we have to find, and we can't do that thing anymore. We have to find a new kind of North Star, a new why. Do you think it's more important? I think I know your answer to this, but do you think it's more important that someone start doing things and then they kind of develop their why in the process? Or should they try to kind of get in touch with themselves, find that inner purpose, get in touch with their essence, and then go from there? What do you think is the right order?
Being must come first. We're already doing, like you're doing in everyday life. But if you want to be doing from a place of deep meaning that fuels you, that brings you joy, that brings meaning to others, to have that energy that allows you to help other people, it's got to start with being. And here's the thing about purpose. For some reason, I don't know if it's pop culture or books that have been written over the past 50 years or so, but especially for the older generation, purpose seems to be kind of this heavy term, like, ooh, I'm going to find my purpose. And it's like, but do I have a purpose? Or have I fulfilled my purpose? Or purpose is some like spiritual thing, and that's not who I am. Well, none of that is true. Purpose is just really essentially who you are at your core. So if you don't know that, then what are you doing? You're doing stuff. If you
Right.
know who you are, you're going to be able to focus better. You're going to be able to prioritize better. And then if you do have a job or a role or a goal, that's not your favorite, you can still bring your purpose to that role or that goal to survive it, to make it better. So it
Wow.
always 100% of the time starts with being. For me, I have to exercise. Not my favorite thing. So do I exercise so that I can stay in my clothes and not have to go buy new ones? Yes. But ultimately, why do I exercise and what motivates me is because my purpose is to help other people connect with the best of themselves, which is what purpose is. Purpose is everything that's right with you, everything that's natural with you. And I promise purpose is goodness and love deep inside. That's what it is. So I exercise so that I can have the energy to do this work. And then fitting into my clothes and not having to buy a new wardrobe is a very nice side effect. But the
Very nice
motivation,
byproduct.
yeah, exactly.
Right. So I guess it's like Simon Sinek said, start with why. That makes a lot of sense. It definitely will focus you. It will get you to take the right actions and not spend years, doing something like many people do, and then waking up one day like, who am I? Why am I doing this? What's the purpose
Exactly.
involved?
And the thing is, knowing your purpose, it brings a clarity and a concreteness to your daily life. When you know your purpose, you know your gifts, you know your values, you know your personality, which I call the container for your purpose. Like it filters out how your purpose goes out into the world. When you know that, everyday decisions are impacted and more clear. How am I going to spend the next 10 minutes? What goals am I going to meet today? How am I going to prioritize my time? What perspective am I going to take on this situation? All of that goes back to purpose, all of it.
Right. So acting with purpose and intention isn't just a nice thing to do or gives you a sense of happiness or contentment. It actually has practical benefits and outcomes, it seems like, in terms of helping you be more goal oriented, helping you achieve outcomes, or helping you, I think, live longer and be healthier. So let's go into that as well. I think a lot of people, and you said the older generation thinks of purpose as this heavy thing. I think there are sometimes people who make the mistake and thinking maybe it's a fluffy thing or like something really out there, woo woo, I don't know, like, but
Mhm.
purpose, having a purpose, I'm sure there are studies that prove it helps you be healthier, helps you be more successful. What can you share maybe with my listeners about how purpose can maybe help with quality of life and maybe more than that with the senior aging population that you work with?
Yes, I want to touch on one thing first, if you don't mind.
Sure.
Our society is very goal and achievement oriented, but some people are not built to be motivated naturally to achieve goals or to be planners or to be prompt. And so part of the reason to discover your purpose is to learn who you are so that you can shape your life and the roles that you take on around you at your best. If you take someone with a personality that's lower on the conscientious spectrum and put them in a job that's all deadline based, they're going to fail and they're going to think that there's something wrong with them when that's just not the case at all.
The wrong metric to measure their
Yeah. Yeah.
evaluate them, really.
So first and foremost, if you don't know yourself, how do you communicate to anyone else how to interact with you? That's one of the biggest things that our members learn when they discover their purpose equation is not only do I have literally the equation, the words, the components, the elements to understand exactly who I am. And that's important because thoughts lead to feelings.
Right.
And so when you have your equation, you have concrete words that can help your thoughts be in alignment with who you are, which then creates a way of doing that's in alignment with being, right? So there's that piece. Important to know who you are. The other thing about purpose is really, I want to say, effing fun. Like the purpose equation, the experience of discovering purpose is delightful. It's fun. People say, I don't want to stop. I want to keep going. Like joy is part of purpose. In fact, with the purpose equation, we start with identifying people's sources of joy because that's what fuels purpose. So many people are doing what they think they should do in life or trying to fit into roles where they're not intentionally bringing their purpose. And they wonder why they feel like they're trudging through life or why they're in survival mode. And it's because they're not in alignment with who they naturally are. Trying to do things that are not in alignment with your purpose framework, sorry guys, but it's kind of a waste of time. It's like trying to swim uphill through mud. Like you can do that, but wouldn't it be easier to like go down the water slide and flow with it and have the exact same type of fulfillment and results? Like be choosy about what you do or bring who you are to what you do. As far as older adults, for the older adult generation right now, purpose was for many, many people based on their roles or their goals. And when retirement happens, it can feel exciting to finally have relief from that role. But then the question comes up, what next? And I have a great example, actually. A woman named Sarah. She was a high-powered executive. She did like operational change management and consulting. She led teams of hundreds of people during her career. And when she retired, she was still a very happy person and having a great life. But in the background of her mind, she was telling herself, I'm no longer a leader. When she had identified as being a leader in her role. Well, as we were discovering her equation, she realized that actually leadership was one of her core values. And leadership meant to her being responsible for taking care of the team and helping the team work well together. So that can go way beyond a role. That can be an everyday life thing. Taking care of people, leading them on a common path, achieving things as a group. That could be done through volunteer work. That could be done with friend circles. I mean, right? Infinite possibilities.
Yep.
That's what's so cool about purpose. When you know your purpose, there's infinite possibilities for what you can do. And then you're in the process of what we call becoming. So someone living in purpose is going to feel different 5 years from when they discover their equation. The core stays the same, but they've expanded.
It unlocks the door. It opens unlimited possibilities. And I think I don't know who said it. I don't remember who said it. Something like he who has any why can master any how, or something like that. There's famous. I think you read Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl, which is an amazing book I recommend to my listeners. It was somebody who went through the Holocaust, and he was able to get through it. He was a psychiatrist, and he documented his experience and seeing that the people who were able to survive, were people who found something to hold on to, some kind of meaning in that horrible situation. And he would see people that, as soon as they kind of gave up, it was like a very rapid decline. And I mean, there's definitely something there. If you can find a core value, as you did with Sarah, and I think it was Al, you said how you helped him find another core value, and you help them generalize it to a new context, to find meaning. You can have even your later years can be long and happy, healthy, and productive, and fulfilling. And I think that purpose, and I think it's clear from your work, you see it every day, really can enhance your quality of life and have real outcomes on someone's mental and physical health.
Absolutely. like you said, everybody can Google this, but there's tons of research on purpose and subjective well-being, to which purpose is the main ingredient. It literally can help people to continue functioning in the presence of cognitive decline. It can help people maintain mobility. I don't know this for sure, but I suspect that purpose can help prevent, it's a word I don't like, but a thing called frailty, right? There's so many reasons. And then particularly for senior living, when an older adult is moving from their home into a community that they want to make home, how does the senior living community set the stage for that? Right now, the really good ones have a team of existing residents who can connect with that future resident or prospective resident and create relationships. Because at the end of the day, you want a person wants to move into a community where they feel that they can belong. But here's the piece that senior living is missing. You can't belong to a community unless you belong to yourself first. If you move into a new community thinking about how are you going to make friends and how are you going to fit in, that feeling alone makes me feel anxious. If instead I know my purpose equation and I know specifically the activities that bring me joy, I'm going into that community being fully myself and attracting others who I can vibe with. And the staff and the other residents can know exactly how to connect with me quicker in the space of meaning and joy. That's what move-in should look like. And then there's the life transitions continue in a senior living community, right? There's continuing changes in health. There might be vision impairment down the road. There might be hearing impairment. There might be physical changes. There might be cognitive changes. Well, once again, how do you move through a transition rather than getting stuck? The way that you move through a transition is you have your inner purpose light fueling you from the inside, and so fueled that it can glow outside and others can see it and feel it and interact with you in that meaningful way. So your purpose is then like your inner strength or your anchor, that as circumstances and external and internal things are changing, you have your purpose both for you to hold on to and for others to hold on to, so that this journey can be a collective journey, so that people can make connections, because we all need connections. Going back to your question I didn't answer before about isolation, if you know who you are and what brings you joy and what your gifts are that you can bring to others, it makes it a lot easier to make connections. It gives you more motivation to try out that new technology so that you can FaceTime with your granddaughter or Zoom. Instead of thinking, I can't do this, or I'm afraid I'm going to embarrass myself because I've never used a smartphone before, you're thinking, I have important things to share with my granddaughter, and I'm just going to figure this out because it's about the connection. That's what purpose does. It doesn't take away the hard things in life, but it helps you move through them instead of getting stuck.
Wow, there's a lot to say on that. I mean, in a much more mundane example, like in my world, like I think that I think I have that same thinking, like when it comes to doing something hard, like making sales. It's like I think to myself about what I want to do and where I want to go in my life, and I know that yeah, sure, it's challenging to get rejected. Sure, it's challenging to try and fail. But you know what really sucks? Not going after your dreams, like not getting money for your family. Like if you think about whatever your larger purpose is, I think it can make the hard stuff you have to do to get those things or a lot easier. And I think, well, to your point, in this context, people who are able to have a why or a purpose can get through the challenges that might come with the territory, like you said with the smartphone example. That's a great and practical, relevant example. Here's just an interesting question. I mean, you're familiar with like Maslow's hierarchy of needs. I know that many of the people who listen to this have learned that in school. And it seems like senior living, and it's an amazing industry. It seems like they get right the things that are very intrinsic to human needs, like food and shelter, clothing. But why do you, and some of them pay lip service to this idea of total care, like we also care about the well-being and that kind of stuff. But why do you think purpose, when we know all the benefits and how it can make someone enhance their quality of life, make them stay connected with family, make them live longer and get up and exercise or do whatever it is to make themselves healthier and happier. Why is purpose not made more of like the forefront? Like, why doesn't it get more play and attention that it deserves?
So I grew up in senior living and it's been my entire career. And I truly believe and have seen over and over again that senior living has all the right intentions. Nobody works in senior living if they don't truly love it and get fulfillment from it. It's the same problem in senior living that we have in society. People think that purpose is about doing stuff. Go read all the websites. We have all these activities. We go on outings. We have theater. I'm like,
Pickleball.
"Hey, you have events
Yeah.
and you should have events. People need to be engaged, but that is not about purpose.
Right.
Senior living has such an opportunity to differentiate itself by becoming a mecca of purpose in the local community. Because here's the thing, everyone has purpose. There's not a person on this planet who doesn't have purpose. The tragedy is that many people live without being in touch with their purpose. So it's your job, for everyone who's listening, to go and figure out what your purpose is, because, purpose gives me a lot of perspective, and the greatest perspective it's given me is time. Are you wasting time not living in your purpose? The answer is absolutely 100% yes. And I can tell you this from all the people that have discovered their purpose equation. It transforms their experience of time. The senior living could create a community, not just the brick and mortar community, right? We're talking beyond the walls, of sharing both this incredible wisdom that is in these buildings, these incredible individuals that all have a purpose and have the time to live in their purpose and to share with others. But it's got to start with before the sale or during the sale. Why isn't senior living taking discovery a step further and really finding out what a person's purpose is? And then creating an environment, not activities, an environment where each individual's purpose can flourish. I knew a man named Dale, 99 years old, known as the word game king in his assisted living community. Guess what? We discovered his purpose equation. Word games were fun for him. It had nothing to do with his purpose. He loved people, and he got the most meaning and joy from being able to share thanks and appreciation with other people. So he started an employee fund. It had nothing to do with the activities he went to every day.
Wow.
It was creating an organization to raise funds and donate to employees every year at Christmas or during the holidays. There's no mention of activities in there, right? That's where senior living needs to make some changes. All of
Right,
the
it's all
events
about-
and the lifestyle are fantastic, but that's not purpose.
Yeah. Yeah. Like you have like amazing activities directors and they have great intentions. There's activities, but you're right. It's got to get beyond just the activities. So, now we're talking about senior living and people who work in this wonderful industry. I know, do you have any programs for finding purpose for caregivers? Because as we know, being a caregiver in assisted living or home care, it's not an easy job. Like you said, you're not in it unless you love it or you're passionate about it. And especially after the past year we've had with COVID, there's been so much stress and burnout, especially on the part of caregivers and others who work with
Yeah.
seniors who live in senior living communities. Do you have any purpose equation workshops or programs for employees or caregivers of senior living communities?
Absolutely. The first thing we do to help employees is we have purpose guides who are our employees at the purpose equation. So our vision, and we're just getting started with this, but the vision is to have a purpose guide who's dedicated to a community and can team up with the lifestyle director and the sales team and deliver our solutions, our services to prospects and residents in partnership to deepen discovery, accelerate the sales process, and then really support quality of life, especially at those transition points in the seniors or the older adults experience in the community, right? Because staffing, we all know, staffing is a challenge. You can have a remote purpose guide available at your disposal, and I love this word, targeted purpose deployment within a community. If you have a resident who's at risk at move out, especially in those for the first 90 days, get them their purpose equation, figure out what makes them tick. Their family will thank you for the rest of their life, right? You have a prospect who's gone from a warm lead to a cold lead. We have another service that we call the Purpose Initiator. It's an hour. Do a Purpose Initiator. The whole thing focuses on joy. What brings this person joy? And then you have something meaningful to talk about. And I bet you that that prospect is going to go from a cold to a warm or a warm to a hot because you're enriching their life at the same time, giving them tangible, actionable insights and tools that they can use in their daily life in the community. It helps them to imagine being there. And then as far as communities go, we 100% believe in wrapping a community in purpose. And so, of course, that's going to include the employee team. I love LE3 Solutions, Sarah and Kelly. And something that they taught me that I wholeheartedly believe in is that you can't even look at the quality of the activity programming or attendance or anything like that until you look at employee satisfaction and employee engagement. If you have an issue there, you're going to have an issue with care delivery. You're going to have an issue with retention. You're even going to have an issue with length of stay because the residents aren't going to have those meaningful interactions that keep fueling their purpose, right? So we offer services to teams, both as individuals. We think that having the full purpose equation, which is 6 experiences with part of a leadership development program, wouldn't you want to develop leaders who understand purpose at the deepest level when you're in the senior living industry, an industry of people taking care of people? Yes, of course you would.
Yeah.
What about your caregivers? Their everyday life, first of all, it's backbreaking work. It's hard. And these communities would not exist without these CNAs and these direct caregivers. Bottom line, why aren't we helping them to find joy and reminding them and helping them and creating environments to infuse joy into their lives, both their personal life and their work life, so that they have more meaningful interactions with residents? They're refueled after the hard, important, loving work that they're doing. So yes, we offer individualized services for employees within these communities. And we also have a program that we call Team Transcendence, where we meet with a team. It could be a leadership team, it could be the lifestyle team, it could be the sales team, and we'll help that team start building what we call their purpose stack. So it's not their full purpose equation, but it's key elements of finding each individual's purpose. And then we bring them together as a team to share in and celebrate each other's purpose, and then take that a step further to align the individual's purpose, that team's purpose, with the company's purpose. That's magical.
Wow.
That's magical. And that's something better and different that communities can offer, especially again, because this is a people business. Yes, it's real estate. The day-to-day life is a people business.
Yeah, for sure. 'Cause a lot of people look at the people, I guess, in senior management might look at it as the real estate aspect or whatever, but it's really to be a caregiver is physically and emotionally demanding, and I think it makes perfect sense that you should be able to give them a sense of meaning and purpose and fulfillment in their career. and also to build more of a sense of cohesive community amongst employees. That would benefit any organization. And I really love that you also help people kind of find their purpose, maybe when they're checking out the senior living community. I mean, talk about adding value. I don't think it gets more valuable than helping people
Exactly.
find their purpose.
Even if the person doesn't move in, they're like, oh my goodness, I found my purpose equation and I've started implementing these changes in my life to be more in alignment with my natural self that brings me happiness. Yeah, I want that. Yeah, I'm going to tell people about that.
Right, right.
And yeah, it's one person at a time building this community of individuals that are thriving. And the best part that I love is, yes, the individuals are thriving, but what we see is that when you have individuals who know their purpose, they can then see purpose in others. And it's beautiful. I can look at you, Zev, and I can be across the room watching you, and I can see if you're living in your purpose or if you're a little bit out of alignment. And to be able to vibe in purpose, it's beyond words, it's an energy, and it creates an energy. And so when we talk about prospects coming in and doing a tour, what's the energy in the community? Well, guess what? It has nothing to do with how many activities you have going on. It's the energy. It's how people are interacting with each other in the most mundane day-to-day ways that families notice.
I love that. The idea of a lot of senior living communities vibing in purpose. That sounds amazing. That sounds
Isn't
like a
it
really
beautiful?
cool. Yeah.
And for older adults to be able to teach the rest of us what that looks like is my dream, because they can do it. They taught me. I owe everything to older adults. They taught me what purpose looks like and feels like.
Wow. That's what an amazing way to give back to the people that, taught us, that we learned from. As much as the older generation may need help and assistance, we, I think, gain so much more from learning from them. So, wow. Anna, thank you so much. This has been incredible. I'm sure a lot of my listeners are now thinking about their purpose, and would love to have you back again soon. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for vibing with me in purpose today, Zev. It went great, and I really thank you for the opportunity.
My pleasure.